I'm playing Odie in the new Garfield movie with Chris Pratt and the rest of the cast. So Bowen Yang's in it. It's a great, great cast. Which is so funny because they came to me and they're like, "We love for you. We saw what you did with Perrito." So I was like, "Yeah, Perrito was such a layered character. Like, we love that. We like for you to play Odie." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "He's gonna talk? He is not." Hello.
Hello, how's it been going this weekend?
This is my first time here at this con, and I have to say, this is like so fun. Like, you guys are amazing. Yeah, like everyone's super nice, the food's really good, and it's like cute everywhere I go. So I really like it. Thank you for welcoming me to your hometown.
Hey.
Thank you.
So you've gotten to venture out a little bit.
A little bit. I went to the, I'm really bad with names, but we went to this like small like town hall with like a tree, and there was like a little shopping area, and it was like rainy, but it felt like snow, and it was really wintry. I'm from LA, so we don't really clearly, so we don't get a lot of that stuff. So it was really nice to feel like this is winter, and it was December 1st, so we're walking around like that Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah, I like this. Yeah.
It's officially Christmas
Yeah,
now.
I feel like I was in a Hallmark movie. I was like, it's like I have to save the ranch before December 24th. I have no time for love. Sorry, I have to. My name's Harvey. Nice to meet you. No, the ranch.
The movie
I
we
just
need.
did a whole movie in front
of
of
you. Oh, so good. Wait, what do we call it? What's
I don't
it called?
know. God, a ranch too far?
Christmas ranch. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I
It's
love
so
it.
good.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about something extra.
I want to talk about this look. Look at this
Oh, thank
amazing
you.
look. Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Harvey.
I love
You're
it.
so sweet.
I saw her backstage and I was like, oh my God, yes, of course. Love
Thank
it.
you so much. Anyway, so magical, all things magic, Disney. I want to talk about the new film, Wish. Can you tell us a little
Yeah.
bit
Have you guys
about
seen
it?
Wish, the movie? Yay! If you haven't, go see it. It's really nice. It's a nice story. It's really call to action. Young girl. It's really empowering for people, especially kids, specifically little girls, to see someone on screen who is empowered. Who takes initiative and just is like their own leader, which is really cool. And Ariana DeBose does a really great job with that. And the music is so good. Like, I literally, there's bops in there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you watch a movie and or a musical, like I go watch a Broadway musical and I walk out and I'm like, yeah, that was good. Yeah, I think I like that. And it's like, yeah, what was your favorite song? Oh my God, just like it doesn't stick with you. But when you walk out of this movie, it's like there's so many good songs. I was singing one this morning. I was like caught myself, and I sing in it too. So no, please, don't make me sing. Don't make me sing. Don't do it. Legally, I can't. I cannot. Okay. There's lawyers in the back. Hey guys, they follow me everywhere. And I cannot say no, but it's really cool. I get to sing, a really cool song in it. And I haven't sung musical theater or music, for film or TV in a while since like Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. And so, yeah, Zoe's fans. So it's really nice to do that again and to do it Disney. Like I got this like picture of my character. I play Gabbo. So it's a play on like the characters from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And Gabbo is his first, the letter to his name is G because he's grumpy. So I play Grumpy. That's the character that I play. It's just so fun. It's just really, I encourage you to go see it. Take your kids and nieces and everyone. It's a really sweet story. So take a trip. Yeah.
See it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now. Well,
Now.
after this convention.
Don't leave.
And I also saw you're going to be playing, is it Odie in the new Garfield movie?
Yeah, I'm playing Odie in the new Garfield movie with Chris Pratt and the rest of the cast. So Bowen Yang's in it. It's a great, great cast. Which is so funny because they came to me and they're like, we love for you. We saw what you did with Perrito in Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. And I was like, thank you. And Perrito's so sweet and tender, and like the glass is always half full. And like, someone who's gone through like trauma to want to help other people through their trauma is something like aspirational. You know what I mean? Like people can make a choice. Like life gets hard sometimes, and people take a choice and they're like dwell on the darkness or like look at the positivity. So I was like, yeah, Perrito was such a layered character. Like, we love that. We like for you to play Odie. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna talk? He is not. Yeah. he is not. And I was like, so doesn't he? Okay, so why would you need me? We want someone to convey everything that is emotional and happiness without words. What? You know, he's there, but he doesn't talk. And it's like, that's just a silent character. And they're like, we would love for you to play him. And I was like, so you don't want me to say anything? They're like, no, not a word. So I'm playing Odie, right? And how would I do that? You figure it out. Please leave my office. So I'm playing Odie. So it's mostly just sound effects. It was the quickest recording I've ever done. So they show you like the clips of what you're doing and stuff, and it's like, you know, it's just like the sound effect. It's just like that's really all I'm doing in the movie. So you know, I'm probably going to the premiere and be like, thank you everyone for coming. That's all I'm doing is sound effects, which is really, but it is a specific kind of acting because it's been challenging to do something like that because it's like conveying like an emotional scene without using words. Like you literally have to be like, you know, like using every sound in like your vocal cords and like your range, but it has to convey emotion, which I found really like, oh, that should be easy, and it's not. Because they show you, they're like, yeah, he's a little angrier here. And I was like, oh, angrier, of course. Let me do that without words, you know, just like the sound effect. But it was a bit of a challenge, but I'm really happy the way it came out, and I hope you all like it. Next summer, Garfield. Wow. Yeah.
It's all happening.
Yeah.
Did you grow up like reading comic strips or cartoons? Did you watch cartoons? Like, what were
I
your
love
fandoms?
cartoons growing up. I wanted to be a Disney cartoon, and you know I play Funny the Funhouse on Mickey Mouse Funhouse, and that was like a dream come true. Like basically, my first voiceover work was a Disney cartoon, and it was Owl House. Is there any Owl House fans? Yeah. A whole bunch of owls just fly out. Ah! They're here. It was that, and I just remember thinking like, done, I did it. Like I was like, I got that like character. Agmar was the character that I was playing, and it was this cool like creature with like one eye, and I was like, that's so cool. I love that, and I can check that off my list. And then shortly after, they asked me to read for Funny the Funhouse. And I was like, oh man, that's like a lead on a thing. And I was like, maybe they probably won't, maybe, I don't know. And then they're like, yeah, we would like for you to play him. And we're going like season 4 now, So it's been really fun to like see the things that I wanted to do as a kid and that I thought were so like reachable or attainable. And to like, man, like looking back, like I'm just like, what is life? Like it's like Garfield I grew up watching Disney movies, and now have a Disney movie in theaters right now, and it's just like it never is lost on me that I'm so lucky to do what I love, and I'm so grateful for people who support what I do and the fans who support. So I'm really grateful for all of you. Thank you. Yeah.
And you're so like well-versed. It's like you're doing a little bit of like every genre. Of course, I have to mention, now that we can talk about Blue Beetle, we have to talk about Blue Beetle.
Yes.
And I feel like your character was like very conflicted, right? Like there was so many ups and downs. Can you tell us a little bit about when you first read the script?
Yeah, so I was a little bit torn, like, Dr. Sanchez is what it's named, but it's not his name, obviously, if you watch the movie. And if you haven't watched the movie, I really encourage you to watch it. I feel that it's it was the first time I saw a script that I felt that my culture was represented. And reading the pages, I was like, wow, they're really going to refer to that like soap opera, where like if you grew up in a Latin household, there's certain music and certain sounds and certain smells and certain, shows and movies that are playing in the background that felt very nostalgic to me. And so when I read the script, I was like, this is such a great movie. And if you're not Latin yourself, you're introduced to that world as with a big welcome mat. It's just like, this is kind of what it is to be part of a Latino family in this scenario, in this household, in this time and place. And it was very nice to be a part of that. Unfortunately, the movie kind of premiered during the strike. And so we never realized how much power the actors have in promoting a film or a project. I had the bad luck of like the day that we started the strike, which was over 118 days. The first day of the strike was the first day of season 5 of Shadows premiering. So the first day it premiered, I couldn't talk about it. Like I could not talk about it. So I remember posting something at 9 p.m. and saying, hey, tonight's the night, because I knew we were about to maybe go on strike. It might happen that night. And I was like, so make sure you guys watch it, please. And then like at midnight, your lips were sealed. You cannot talk about it. And I was like, oh man. And then at midnight, people try to come for you, and they're like, oh, you talking about a project? And I was like, it was before the strike. It was like before the strike. And then, for all summer, like we couldn't talk about anything. And then Blue Beetle premiered, and we couldn't go to the premiere. We couldn't talk about it. So most people are like, I'm excited for Blue Beetle. And I'm like, it already came out. And people are like, oh, I didn't see you post about it. I was like, I can't. Like, I literally can't post about it. And because you don't know how much power the actors have to like promoting the film and the success of it, unfortunately, no one saw it in the theaters, but now it's #1 in streaming. So I encourage you to go see it. It's such a great story. Angel, the director, is so brilliant, and Cholo, who plays, Beetle, is a Blue Beetle, is just amazing. Jaime, and like everyone, the cast, like, Belisa, and just like everyone who's part of that cast and crew was so passionate about it. And I really encourage you to go home and just like give it a go. And like, I think it's a great film, and I think it's beautifully done. And to make more films like that, where they represent Latino families or other kind of families that look different than us, So it's like introducing us to different cultures. Like, I would love to see more of that from DC and other companies. So please go see it. It's a really good film.
Yeah, so go home and watch that one. Then
Go watch
you're
it.
gonna go to the theater and you're gonna see Wish.
Watch Wish.
That's the homework.
Yeah.
And since now we can also talk about what we do in the shadows, I wanted to know, was there like anything like humorous that you learned about like vampires or cryptids through making the show? Like any facts you learned?
Yeah, I mean, like we tried to incorporate some of it last season where it was like, the bag of rice or something, where like you drop a bag of rice and vampires have to count each grain. That was a funny, like, vampire lore that was like, is that true? And then I was like, what am I saying? Is that true? Is that true? Let me call my vampire friends. I don't think that is true. I have vampire friends. I caught myself asking myself, like, that can't be true. Is that true? Where do I... Harvey. It's like talking about vampires, which, vampires are real. They're out there. You never know because they live among us, But it was funny to ask myself that over and we're like, is that true? Just stuff like that. There's like small things that pop out and that they've done their, like, homework. Like the writers like have done their homework. They've like gone over the smallest detail, like reflection, like in a mirror, and obviously that stuff. What they consume, even with Guillermo, like consuming rare, like raw meat in his burger, and like stuff like that, where it would like it's still not raw enough when he orders burgers that are rare, and like these like they touch the grill, like that kind of stuff. Those are all little things that they picked up and they've written to the show. But that's why we have the most amazing writers on the show, because nothing, goes over their heads. Like they're like on it. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you guys, want to start lining up, my final question to you before we go to the crowd is, what would be Guillermo's #1 artist on his Spotify Wrapped for the year?
Oh my gosh. I think with Guillermo, and myself included, I think the seasons or the year, like, if you're going through something, you know what I mean? Like if you're like madly in love, your playlist is different. If you're going through a breakup, it's different, you know what I mean? Like it goes with the mood of what you're going through. And I think for Guillermo this year, Guillermo has gone through a lot. A lot of like self-discovery, but also losing of, lost love. He's still mourning Freddie. He's also looking forward to the future. He's taking initiative in his own, like into his own hands. And I feel like he's empowered. So I feel like it would be a mixed thing. It'd be like something like, I don't know, a combination of like Taylor Swift and also like the Cranberries and also like Sixpence None the Richer and also like rap and also musical theater. And like it would be all over because he's going through so much. Like this season has been such like peeling away at layers to Guillermo and losing, like having to say goodbye to your mom. Like it's like and not letting her know that it's for this reason, and then it doesn't work out. Like there's so much going on with him this year that his playlist would be like, what? But it would make sense, I think, for Guillermo all over.
Glad to know he's a Swiftie.
Swiftie, yeah. Well,
all right. We're gonna
say you'll remember me.
All right, go ahead.
Hello. So I'm a chemistry teacher, and most of my kids would probably describe me as an energy vampire.
Uh-oh.
So I was wondering, what's your favorite quality of the what's your favorite quality of the energy in vampire? Sorry.
What's my favorite quality?
Yeah.
I think that it can deflate a situation. I think it's good because if everyone's too much energy, it needs that one person to be like, in 1851, and everyone's like, and then it just deflates the situation. Sometimes a lot of energy can be dangerous, and so we need a little bit of an energy vampire, so tell your students that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Science. That's real.
Hello.
Hi.
I wanted to know if there was any. Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
I wanted to know if there was any horror movies or vampire movies that you or the rest of the cast drawed on to like inspire your performance as the characters.
Well, for my first season, like a little bit of Bram Stoker's Dracula hairdo was for Guillermo. Like it was a little up, the do was a little bit higher, and also inspired by Guillermo del Toro's like portrait in his like monsters book. That's how I based my look off for Guillermo, was based on him. And he found out about it. And I met him at like a party or something. And he's like, I hear that you copied my look for, and I was like, that's right. And he's like, well, it worked. And I was like, it sure did. Yeah, I think that the vampires, I can't speak for them because everyone's process is different, obviously. I don't know, they're just so, all of them are just so great at what they do. Like, I trust the process. Like, I think, everyone has different ways of learning their lines or going over the character. I can't even imagine Kayvon, like, he's so great. He's such a perfectionist when it comes to that. Like, he will go in that room where his coffin is, and he will just like be going over the steps by himself, and just even before rehearsal, like he'll go in there and he like, I'll walk in, he's already like done it like twice by himself. He's like, yeah, okay, then over here. All right, yeah. And like, he does like that. And I'm kind of like that too. So I'm musical theater trained. So like I'm always taught like you should know where your props are. You should know where the steps are. You should know how much, because I don't want to waste anyone's time. So like it's that old saying in musical theater, if you're early, you're on time, and if you're time, you're late, and if you're late, you're fired. And so I always try to be prepared off book, so I don't waste anyone's time. So because the days on set are long, and if somebody, I think maybe it's musical theater training. Like you get to set and you learn your lines and all that stuff. And I'm sometimes surprised when I get to other sets that are not like my normal home, and I'm visiting other sets for whatever project. And I'm always surprised when actors like aren't off book, or like they didn't memorize the lines, and then they're like, oh yeah, and it's like I'll get him. And then like we're doing like, so scene 48, take 86, and you're like, it's like, and we break for lunch, and we come back and we're still doing that scene, and you're like, oh man, if only someone learned the lines, It's like, it elongates the day, and then it's like a team thing, It's like you're not doing it because I want to be, teacher's pet and learn my lines. It's like, no, you're doing it because you respect people's time, It's everyone's process. Sorry. To answer your question, my favorite color is blue. I went on a rant. Yeah. No, but I think everyone's process is different. For me, I pull from, so Guillermo's the only human, right, in the show. So for me, I pull from real human, real human. I'm human. Once again, I'm human. Just real events that have happened that I can relate to. Like, this past year, he had coming out. He had to say goodbye to a loved one. He lost, his first love. And I just have to pull from that, like, remembering my first love and breaking up and, like, that angst that came with it. And also maybe saying goodbye to a family member, whether it be forever because of choices. Sometimes, you get to choose your family. And sometimes our blood family isn't supportive or might not understand our wishes and dreams, and that's okay. And it might be painful, but you might have to cut people out of your life, and that's painful to do. And so it was that kind of mentality that you're like, oh man, you have to go through these emotions. So for me, the process is, how close can I connect Guillermo to my personal human experience? Once again, I'm human. Sparks. Yeah, so that's how my process, I can't speak for anyone else's, but that's how I am.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good question. I feel like I went off on
Okay.
Blue. My favorite color is blue.
Hi.
Hi.
You kind of touched on this already a little bit just now, but my question was about in the finale when Guillermo laments for something for so long, which I feel is very relatable in the queer community as well, and then you get it, right, and then decides that it doesn't work out. How were you able to relate that to yourself, I suppose?
Good question. Yeah, I think that sometimes we have this like dream like that we see portrayed on social media or like even growing up, like aspirational living or aspirational lifestyles. Um, for me personally, I know that like I've always wanted to be an actor, and I don't know what that looked like, if it was going to be on stage or I wanted to perform for television and film. I didn't know that was even an opportunity for me, an option. So things never work out the way you think they do, but you have to trust that the universe is looking after you. The second I stopped, like, no, okay, by the time I'm 21, I should already be on Broadway. And by the time I'm 20, you know, this idea of like maybe like a character that does that perfectly, I guess, is like a Rachel Berry kind of character, like in Glee, where it's like perfectionist, no, you know, like that kind of mentality. And a lot of musical theater kids are like that, you know. It's like, I mean, I'm Broadway, and there's no other thing. And it's like, I remember being a kid who was like, that was my goal. And I was like so disappointed after I did one show in Japan and I came back to America and I went to live in New York and I was like, I've already done a show in Japan. Surely I'll do Broadway. And no. Like you're waking up at 4 a.m. to line up to do cattle calls because you're not equity or you're not, you know, SAG and whatnot. And you wait hours and hours and hours in the snow to be seen for 20 seconds. And you walk in and you give your book and you sing 15 bars of a song. And you're like, that's Sana-kan, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and you walk out and you're like, I just wasted a whole day like trying to get this 15 seconds to this director and producer to see me. And they're like, thank you, we're good. And you're like, but you didn't hear me sing. You know, it's like, well, no, we're good. So for me, the second I let go of like what I thought my life should be is the second I started living. Because it was the idea that I thought this has to be this way. And also I was letting the influence of, you know, the industry tell me this stuff. Like they're like, I had one professor who at one point told me, what are you going to do about the weight? And I was like, what do you mean? And it's like, you could be a leading man. And I was like, I can, yes, and I will be a leading man. And it's just like, and I was like, this was a professor who was like supposed to be a mentor to me. And I could see where he was coming from as a product of his time, because in old days of Broadway and Hollywood, and still today, not too far off of it, people put you in a box, and they want to put you in a box, and it's like, you're not tall enough, you're not thin enough, your eyes aren't blue, your hair's not red. You're like, and you're telling me all the things that are wrong with me, and all the things that were my strikes. You're too Latino, you're too stout, you know, you're too big, you're too queer. All those things weren't my strikes. All those things were my strengths. And you know? And the second you let go of that, the second you start letting other people tell you what's wrong with you, is when you start oozing what's right with you. And you're like, just, this is who I am. And then the second you're confident in your body and in where you're at in life, people see that. Like you walk into a room, and I would always look back at my first auditions, and I walk into a room, and you're like eager. You're like, God, I hope I get it. You know, it's like, what do I have to do? I can dance, I can sing, I can do everything. And people are like, oh, okay, calm down, you know. But the second you walk into a room, you're like, hi, how's it going? And it's like, here's what I can do. Tap, tappa, tappa, acty, 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 singy, singy, singy. And they're like, wow, likey, likey, likey. And then you don't have to try as hard. People either want to work with you already because they like what they see, or they don't, and that's not your fault. You're just not the right for that character for that time and day. So my thing was like opening doors of like, hey, are you looking for someone like me? And they're like, maybe. Okay, let me know if you do. Hey, are you looking? And you go to the next one, and you go to the next one. Because they spend so much time dwelling on that one door. And I was like, please, I'm trying to get in. Knock, knock, knock. Please let me in. Knock, knock, knock. And while you're knocking on the same door, you're missing out a row of a hallway. So you're missing on opportunities that are waiting for you to knock at their door. There's someone down the hall being like, I hope somebody came in like a Harvey Guillén type, you know? I'm Harvey Guillén, you know? It's like you were not knocking at the right door. You weren't knocking at the right door. So the more doors you knock on, eventually, this business is not solely just on talent. It is, you have to have some talent to be in this business. But it's the other T. It's about tenacity. It's talent and tenacity. So once you give into that, there's no stopping you. You can do whatever you want. But also remember that the highs are high and the lows are low. And so for me, like career-wise, like the second I let go of other people's expectations of who should I be, I was trying to fit this box and this mold. Let go of that. Let go of it, because there's no one like you. There's a reason why you're you. There's no one in this planet that's like you. Sure, you might have the same hairdo, a little bit of the same eye color, the same height. There is no one like you could look at the person to your left and the person on your right and tell them there is no one in this world like you. And that's true.
Thank you.
Amen.
Hi.
Hi.
I loved your
Chippy!
I loved your character in Blue Beetle, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what it was like making that movie, and especially working with Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, I mean, I loved working on that film. I was so excited to be a part of it. So I auditioned for it early, not last year, but the year before. Oh, at the end of the year before. And then I didn't hear anything. And I was getting like rumors, like people were like, hey, rumor is you booked it, from people inside, like, you know, the world of DC and stuff and all that. And I was like, I don't think, because I haven't gotten a call. And they're like, rumor is you got it. Rumor, and I was like, who's telling you? You know, it's like, somebody tell me. And I didn't want to get my hopes up, because I was like, I have to. And the director wanted me to play, but that I looked too young because of my baby face. So I was like, Harvey, I want you to like grow the beard, okay? Like the beard grow, and like look a little bit older, because he wanted me to get the part, but he has to convince Warner Brothers that I'm old enough for this character. Story of my life, I was too young for Guillermo too. Guillermo was 25 years older than I was when I auditioned. And I was too young for it, too young. People were like, the studio might not believe that you're a doctor. I was like, there's young doctors. Doogie Howser. End of list. So there's young doctors. And then so I let my beard grow. I mean, I was hoping that they would stall the audition because I was like, I gotta go with my beard. And it was just taking too long, so I kind of like grew as much as I can. It was like more patchy, so I was like, and it's makeup time. And then by the time we shot the movie, I let the beard grow, and it does age you more, and it gives you more of a look. Susan was wonderful. She was really great. We became friends. I go out to like lunch with her in New York when I saw her. She and I were just, because we were in the villain, team together. So going back to what you said earlier about that, is that like there were scenes in the movie that were cut because they were too dark. Like the movie starts off with us excavating like this area for like the scarab, and Susan's character, orders, for us to find it, and Carapax is like in charge of like getting all these like local villagers to like dig up this thing. And it's a traumatic moment because after they find the actual, we don't show that in the movie, but she finds it. She actually finds a tangible scarab shell. We found it. And then she says a line like, Carapax, kill them. And all the workers who help undig this precious, piece get murdered in front of me. And I'm like, and that's the first time that we see the character seeing what he's a part of. Sometimes by association, without us wanting to, we're a part of something bad, right? Someone's bullying someone and you don't say anything and you let it happen. By association, you didn't really help it, like you were like just watching it happen. Someone getting mugged, and you're like, somebody please, my baby. And you're like, ugh, somebody do something, And sometimes that's you. We should do something. You should speak up and say something, So he doesn't do that in the beginning of the movie. He stays quiet, and it slowly starts building up in him. And he gets mistreated. She's not even calling him by his real name, And he finally has it. My name's not Sanchez, pendeja, And he breaks up and like yells at her. And if you notice, there's an Easter egg there, like that I threw in, where yay, you caught it. The one person who saw Blue Beetle in the back. But there's a part of it where he says, my name's not Sanchez pendeja, it's de la Cruz.
Yeah.
So I created a multiverse where Dr. Sanchez is related to Guillermo. Gotta watch the movie, you guys. Gotta watch the movie. That's a good question. Thanks, Chippy.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
I wanted to ask you about your experience communicating through Rabbit and the Magicians.
Yes, the Magicians. Oh, Benedict. Gone too soon,
Truly.
Yeah, that was fun. I remember working with that rabbit. I've only worked with animals a couple times in my career, and you can't tell animals what to do. Babies and animals, you can't tell them what to do. They're gonna poop wherever they want. Literally, Like you'd be holding the rabbit, and you're like, oh, I think it's shedding. Somebody want to, and then it was like, nah, you hold it. And I'm like, okay. And then it's and also they get fidgety, the lights are on them, and so speaking rabbit, I mean, it was just, I remember that day focusing on not hurting this animal. You know, it must be terrifying. And I could feel its heart. And so like, it was like, there's a lot of movement happening, and it must be terrifying for an animal, you know. So you could you feel the heart like, and you're like, and you're like trying to calm this animal in your hands who's having a little bit of a panic attack. You could feel it, like my hand was like, and I was like, oh, this poor animal. And then eventually it calms down and it's a little bit quieter, and then we just make a note like, can everyone not yell, you know, because people are moving. They're like, okay, moving lights, moving blah blah blah, blah, and his ears are like, there's a lot happening. And then so you're like, you know, there's a wrangler there, like an animal wrangler who's, you know, working to make sure the animal's safe and whatnot. But you can't, these animals are animals still, you know, and they're put into an environment that like is not natural to them. So you're just trying to calm this animal. And eventually by the end, it just wouldn't leave my lap, you know, just like it was staying. And I was like, I want to take him home, you know. But no, it's a showbiz animal, you know. But yeah, I remember that day was just more about like keeping the animal calm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question, yeah. Hello.
Hi. I was wondering, at the end of the last season of What We Do in the Shadows, were you surprised by Guillermo's sudden like change of heart at the very end? I'm trying to not be very spoilery about it. in case anyone
Spoiler,
hasn't seen it.
security. Get him out of here. Yeah, I think I got to that point of the script, and I was just surprised because we've been building this up, right? He's been a familiar for over 13 years, and we've been building him. His goal is to be a vampire. Going back to that question earlier about like how will we see ourselves and the goals we would give ourselves, and how heartbreaking it is to kind of let the universe take over. And we found out a lot about his lineage. He's a Van Helsing. It doesn't take to him the way it should, at least not in that way, like naturally it would with someone else. And it's just harder. The road is harder for him because of who he is and the blood that runs through his veins. I was surprised because I was like, where do we go from here? Right? Like, it's like, I want to be a vampire. I want to be a vampire. I'll do whatever it takes to be a vampire. I want to be a vampire. I'm not cut out to be a vampire. I can't kill people. I can't, in good conscience, like, take the life of someone, a living human being. Which is hard because for so long he's been doing it against his will. Like, he's been providing victims for his master and the housemates. And every time he does it, he spirals. It's hard for him, you know? It's like he doesn't do it naturally, and it makes him queasy, and it makes him uncomfortable. He's not a natural-born killer. And when it came to having to kill Derek, whoops. If you didn't see it by now, then it's probably, yeah, keep up. It wasn't in him to do it. And that moment, sweetness of like Laszlo even stepping in and being like, all right, come on. And it's like, you know, even saying like there was never a real ceremony, is it? They were never gonna make him into a vampire because he knew that it wasn't in him. Like he doesn't have that killer, that's the instinct that like you need to be an actual vampire. It's just not in him. He's too pure of heart, you know? And that's why it doesn't mix with him. Like, it doesn't go. So once you give in to like the universe saying like, hey, it's okay, I know that you had a dream, but let's try something different, you know? And it's like, that was my dream. It's like, but a dream can like come to fruition in a different way if you maybe look for it differently or a different set of eyes. So we don't know where he's gonna go from here, right? We hopefully, does he want that same dream, or has he come to the conclusion of like, it's definitely not for me, you know? It's like you think you want like this Hummer of a car, and you're like, oh my God, so cool, you can go through the mountains, and then you get the Hummer, and you're like, oh God, it's take a lot of gas, huh? It's kind of hard to get onto. I have to climb into this Hummer. It's kind of bulky. I can't drive it. I can't park it. I need to return this. And that's that quick. Sometimes you need to be put face to face with what you want, and it makes you realize this isn't for me. I did that going to school. I thought I wanted to be a Shakespearean actor. I'm like, that's a real thespian, a real actor. So I got like to go to Southern Utah for like, you know, a Shakespearean festival. And then I got there and I was like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. I didn't hate Utah. Utah was beautiful. I just didn't want to be a Shakespearean actor that way. I wanted acting because I thought that's what actors needed to do. And you needed to be a real Shakespearean thespian to be a real actor. And I was like, no, you don't. Like, you don't. You could be a different kind of actor. So yeah, you just have to sometimes realize, maybe shift the way you look at your dream. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
All right, we got about 10 minutes left.
Oh.
All right, out of all the episodes of Shadows, what was the most fun to shoot, and what made it the most fun for you to shoot?
The most fun to shoot. I mean, this last season when Derek bites him you have to remember we have to set up that set, and we only get like, you could do it again, but you have to clean all that blood. And so when it's like squirting up and like out of his neck, and they're sliding, sliding on the floor, we had about 8 minutes or 9 minutes of blood pumping through a big tank. And so once the blood's out, it's out. And so like we filmed for like 8 minutes straight and just slipping, sliding with Derek and like, hold my hands, you know, and like slipping. And you know, you probably never see it because we don't really have bloopers, but there's footage somewhere of like us just slipping, sliding for a while. And then your hope is that you got enough footage that you can use. Otherwise, we say cut, and it's up to the director and be like, we need to clean everything and do it all again. And that means you get out of your costume, you get a brand new costume, they have to clean all the blood off the floor, all the wall splattered on the ceiling. They have to clean all that up, which cleanup can take up like 2.5, 3 hours. And that's a team of like 10 people working nonstop, like scrubbing and clean. So your hope is like, oh man, I hope we get it in this shot. And we did. We got it in one shot, thank goodness. Well, the director was like, I'm happy with it. I was like, great. That was a fun one. I was thinking about this the other day, like from season 3, I think it was, or was it 2? The Curse, episode of The Curse, where there's 2 different storylines going on, and we introduce a different group of people, and it was the vampire mosquito collectors of the tri-state area. That was a really fun episode for me because we got to incorporate different personalities of what Guillermo acts like in the real world. And so in the real world, he's a little more confident. He's a little more like, you know, he speaks up and he speaks his mind. And if you notice in the household where we see Guillermo a lot, he's very quiet in the first 3 seasons. He's very like, you know, endearing and like it's quiet and timid because he's afraid. He's afraid to do the wrong thing because if he says the wrong thing, he's gonna get demoted for another year, demerit from Nandor. And he's already in it for 10 years at that point, you know, 4 years ago, and he's just not willing to risk it. He's like, just stay quiet, put your head down, do your job, and his voice is softer. And and then when he's out of the household and he meets these people who are, you know, the mosquito hunters, he speaks a little bit higher. He speaks with more confidence. And then when he's trying to figure out if they're going to the house to kill them, he's like, I found, you know, when they go to the vampire house they found, he thinks it's that house, his house that he lives in. So he's calling them, but in the meantime, they're having a Bloody Mary curse that they think is happening. And he's like, oh no, Bloody Mary! You know, it's like they're on the web. And then, so like in the answer machine, I call them to warn them, and they don't pick up. And it's like, leave a message. And then I have to be in the back of the van, like, you have to get out of the house or you're gonna die! You know? And like that voice, like, Bloody Mary! You know? So filming that episode was really fun because that was the first time I actually got to do really big stunts. So I go out the 3rd-story window of a real 3rd-story window and go like this, whoop, you know, flip back. That was really cool for me to do and terrifying, but that was probably one of my favorite episodes. Anytime he does stunts, like the night market scene is another favorite. The night market, all the sword fighting, I love that stuff because I really want to show like, you know, you can be combat and badass at any size. And I think we proved it. Yeah.
Thank you. Love you so much.
Yeah. Good question.
These have all been so
These
good.
are so good.
Y'all are
Hi.
amazing.
Hi.
Ignore the body paint and all that.
Never. I'll never ignore it. It'll haunt me.
Do you ever find yourself like acting like Guillermo and like finding yourself relating to him, and or do you catch yourself doing things you think Guillermo would do?
Not really. I feel like people are upset when they meet me and they find that I'm not like Guillermo, because Guillermo, you know, when we first started with Guillermo, like I always say, he didn't talk a lot. He acted all with his face. The camera was always like panning to him and he'd be like, ugh, you know, or whatever. And he's so like sweet and like quiet and like, not to say that I'm not those things, but I'm very like talkative, and so when I meet someone, I like to talk and like, hey, how's it going, whatever. And I had somebody come like and like meet me at a Comic-Con or something, and they came up to the table, which by the way, you can all come say hi at the table after this. We'll be there. It was funny to like have somebody come in and like just be like, hi Guillermo, and like they assume that you're this character, and you're like, hi, I'm not Guillermo, I'm Harvey, but you know. And then I start talking to them, and I can see in their face they're like, oh. And I was like, what's wrong? And they're like, well, I just thought you'd be more like Guillermo. And I was like, what? And then there's like, oh, because he's so quiet and I want to hug him. And I was like, you can hug me. No, thanks. You know? And the idea that like, either you fall in love with the character, right? You want them to be that, but remember, we're actors. And like, people forget that like, that's a sign of I think, a good actor. If they make you believe that that character is real enough that you're like, that is a real person. I know that's who they are. And then when you meet them, you're like, you're nothing like your character. It's like, that's your job. My job as an actor is to bring life to a new character, right? And the same thing goes with like voiceover. Like, we were somewhere like in Texas or something, and we had this woman come up to me with her daughter, I think, and it was like, oh my gosh, she just loves you on Mickey Mouse Funhouse, just loves you on Mickey Mouse Funhouse, and it's like, and I just love you on Reacher, and it's like, oh Reacher, that's right, and it's like, oh my gosh, and then she's like, and I love that you have a Southern accent. And I was like, oh, I don't. I don't have a Southern accent. Oh, well, I heard you have a Southern accent. You have a Southern accent in the show. Right. The character, yeah, he has a Southern accent. Yeah, and it's like, oh, so you don't have a Southern accent. And I was like, no, I do not. And it's like, oh, okay, what's this show? And I was like, oh, that's what we do in the shadows. Oh, I don't like bloody stuff. And I was like, didn't you watch Reacher? Reacher is all blood and gruesome. So it's funny to come across people who see you as a character and they want you to be that character. But I always say, I think you'll be happy to know that I'm an actor who is happy to play all these characters. But if you come to say hi to me, it's just come to say hi to Harvey, and not necessarily the character. I love all the characters I play, and it'll take a little bit of them with me. I think when I do characters on stage, they do stick with me a little bit longer because you live with them for so long every day. But with Guillermo, it's like when I step on set, it's Guillermo. When I step off a set, it's Harvey. So I leave it at the door there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good questions. These are all so good.
I know. We have time for maybe 1, 2, or 3 more questions.
Okay.
Let's see what we can
I'm gonna
get
take
through.
This. Make sure it's off.
Okay, you're good.
I'm gonna make sure this is off. Yeah.
Go ahead. What's your
Hi.
name?
Hi. I want to know if there's any props that you took off the set of What We Do in the Shadows that you've kept at home, like the Foot Locker from the mall episode.
How dare you? In front of all my friends and the lawyers in the back. Hi guys. I would never take anything that was not mine. I guess I've said this before, but I didn't know if we were going to continue to shoot the show after the pilot. So in the pilot, I took Guillermo's glasses. And I was like, I have to take these because I love this character so much. And if this character never goes anywhere, then that'll be fine. I just will have these glasses to remind me of one time when I played this character that was really lovely. And I try to do that sometimes on the shows that I play. A little trinket or something, but I'll ask, be like, can I take this? Usually it's like the back seat of your chair that I collect. So I have like the Blue Beetle one, I have the internship, Thundermans. I just did one for Mike Flanagan's film. And so they usually gift them to you, It's rare that you're like having to go and be like, I'm gonna take the chair, just like they give them to you. But little trinkets like that, like the glasses were really important to me. So I have the glasses. I have one of Guillermo's original sweaters because the costume designer gave it to me because they only had 2 of them and one of them was ruined and it's a wool sweater and they forgot that it was wool. They had a new person working costume and they washed it and they put it in the dryer and it's wool. So it came out like this and like, here's your shirt. And I was like, oh, it looks really small. It's the same one, Harvey. And I was like, I don't know. Me? It's kind of tight. So they couldn't use it again, so they let me keep the sweater. So I have a little bit of that. The costume designer for Magicians, I remember that costume for Benedict, did such a fantastic job. And there was actually the Magicians fan base group that purchased it at auction, and they gifted it to me. So it was fans that kind of took initiative and they're like, we can't see these costumes be sold to like random people. They have to go back to the people that brought life into them. So I have Benedict's costume in a garment bag in my walk-in closet.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any time for another one?
Yeah, we're gonna do 2 more.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Were there any guest stars on What We Do in the Shadows that you're most excited to meet or work with?
Well, truth be told, last season we were supposed to have a couple of guest stars that the last minute didn't work out because that scene was rewritten and stuff. So the coming out parade episode where he just has a sign and his sparkler and it says gay guy. That one, we were supposed to have some wonderful drag queens be guest stars, and then they were ready to go. It was like I got in contact with them, casting got in contact, and we had a list of like some of my favorites. It was like Jinx, like Trixie. it just like Katya, like they had reached out to like Ginger Minge, Violet Chachki, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. It's not. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go cry over here now. So those were the ones I was super excited about. It was just that episode was so jam-packed with stuff happening, like, Shawnee's running for city controller, and hey, I'm being gay over here. So just like that episode was so full of things that it would just been like so too much. They like omitted that scene and rewrote it. And it just happens, sometimes. But I'm really looking forward to next season, which, by the way, we basically moved to Toronto like in a month to like start season 6. So we're back at it, but it might be a little bit of time maybe till you get it because of the strike. It threw us off by 6 months. Usually by this month, we're finishing up the season. Like we're wrapping it up. Like in 2 more weeks, we would have been done with season 6. But unfortunately, because of the strike, we're not yet started. So it'll throw us off a little bit, but if you're patient and just watch reruns, we'll make it as good as and better.
We're patient. We're patient.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good question.
All right, we have time for one more. Do you mind tilting the mic down?
Oh.
So we can hear you?
She's like, this microphone's too tall.
Just tilt. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Or yeah, take it down.
There we go.
There
What's
we
your
go.
name?
My name is Tabby, and I am,
You got it.
And what we do in the shadows, what was your favorite season, and what do you think Guillermo's favorite season would be?
Good question, Tabby. That's adorable. What do you think Guillermo's favorite season would be? I think Guillermo's favorite season and episode would probably be finally taking this giant heavy weight off his shoulders of lying to his family about where he works and his sexuality, being honest with him and being honest with his family about who he is and who he wants to be. Like all at once. Like it's like, and Naja's not my girlfriend, and I don't work at the railroad. And then they're like, and he's like, I'm gay. And they're like, you want to be a vampire? Which is such a hard thing because he's a Van Helsing, So it's so hard to the family who is a family of vampire hunters. Imagine that. So I think that's his favorite because he finally gets this like weight off his shoulders. I think my favorite season, I think it would have to be maybe the last 2 seasons have been really great for Guillermo because we're really kind of peeling away at these layers that he has, and it's really lovely to see that. So I like it as Harvey, like as myself, to see this character evolve. He's not who he was in season 1, and he's definitely not who he's going to be tomorrow. So it's always nice. Good question.
Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
We're at time. I'm so sorry. Before we wrap it up, though, any thoughts? And then we're going to take a big group picture.
Yeah, let's do a group picture. If you want to come down to the booth and say hi, I'll be there. Also, we just launched a website, harveyg.com, where you can get really cool merch. We have shirts and stuff. I'm wearing one of the... Remember we went to space? I know. So go to harveyg.com and check it out. There's really cute limited edition holiday stuff that we have there going on. So take a look and come say hi at the booth and take a picture, autograph, and all that. But let's take a group picture really quick.
Yes.